I first noticed him 3 weeks ago outside my favorite coffee shop. Tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair and an intense way of watching that made my skin prickle with awareness. He wasn't doing anything overtly threatening, just standing across the street, hands in the pockets of his leather jacket, looking in my direction. The second time, he was at the grocery store. Same watchful stance, same careful distance. I told myself it was coincidence. Seattle was a big city, but neighborhoods overlapped. People shopped at the same stores, frequented the same cafes. By the fifth sighting, outside my gym, near my office building, on my jogging route through Discovery Park, I knew it wasn't coincidence. I had a stalker. My name is Jordan Hayes, and I'm a data analyst for a tech startup. 29 years old, single, living alone in a one-bedroom apartment in Capitol Hill. I have no dramatic backstory, no dangerous exes, no reason anyone would fixate on me. I'm aggressively ordinary, which made the stalking even more terrifying. I did everything the internet told me to do. Documented every sighting with photos and timestamps. Filed a police report, though without direct threats or contact, they said there wasn't much they could do. Changed my routine, varied my routes, started checking over my shoulder constantly. But he was always there. A shadow at the edge of my life, watching, waiting. The weird thing, he never approached me, never tried to make contact. Just watched. Like a guardian angel, if guardian angels were 6'2" and looked like they could break someone in half. Maybe he's just into you, my best friend Melissa suggested over drinks. Like, really awkward about showing it. That's not romantic, that's restraining order territory, I countered, scanning the bar nervously. He wasn't here tonight. I'd actually checked, probably more thoroughly than was healthy. Have you tried talking to him? Are you insane? Rule number 1 of stalker safety. Don't engage. Maybe rule number 1 should be find out what he wants before you assume the worst. Melissa shrugged. I'm just saying, he's been following you for weeks and hasn't done anything threatening. Maybe he's trying to work up the courage to ask you out. By lurking outside my apartment, men are stupid about romance. I wanted to believe her optimistic interpretation. I really did. But there was something too controlled about the way he watched me. Too professional. This wasn't some awkward guy with a crush. This was someone with training. That realization hit me on a Tuesday night as I walked home from work. I'd taken a different route, cut through an alley I'd never used before, specifically to see if he'd follow. He did, but here's what made my blood run cold. He'd somehow gotten ahead of me. He was at the other end of the alley, and when I turned back, there was someone else behind me, not my usual stalker. This man was shorter, thinner, with a cruel twist to his mouth. He smiled when he saw me notice him. "Jordan Hayes," he said, my name sounding wrong in his mouth. "We've been looking for you." I ran. Pure instinct drove me toward the only person who'd shown any interest in my survival, even if that interest manifested as stalking. I sprinted toward the tall figure at the alley's end, my mind screaming that this was insane. I was running toward danger, not away from it. But something in his body language had changed. He wasn't watching anymore. He was moving, fast and purposeful, intercepting me before I'd made it halfway. "Stay behind me," he ordered, his voice a low rumble that commanded obedience. Then the man who'd been following me, my stalker, stepped between me and my pursuer like a human shield. What happened next lasted maybe 30 seconds, but felt like an eternity. The other man pulled a knife. My stalker moved with fluid precision, disarming him in 3 moves that looked choreographed. Professional. Military. The attacker went down hard. My stalker, I really needed a better name for him, pressed a knee into the man's back, had zip ties around his wrists in seconds, and was already pulling out a phone. "This is Agent Cross," he said into the device. "I have one in custody. Subject is secure. Send a team to my location." Agent. The world tilted slightly. "You're FBI," I heard myself say. He glanced at me over his shoulder, and for the first time in 3 weeks, looked directly into my eyes instead of watching me from a distance. His eyes were gray, intense, and filled with something I couldn't quite name. "Yes," he said simply, "and you're in a lot more danger than you realize." Agent Cross, whose first name turned out to be Ryan, had been following me for 3 weeks because someone much worse was trying to find me. Someone I'd apparently crossed paths with without even knowing it. We sat in a secure FBI field office, me clutching a paper cup of terrible coffee, while Ryan explained how my ordinary life had intersected with an international trafficking ring. 3 months ago, you processed data for a client, Clearwater Solutions. His fingers flew across a laptop, pulling up files. You didn't know it, but Clearwater is a front. The data you analyzed contained routing information for offshore accounts connected to human trafficking operations. My stomach dropped. I help traffickers. You didn't know, Ryan said firmly. The data was deliberately obscured. But you're good at your job, Jordan. Too good. You found anomalies in the patterns and flagged them to your supervisor. I remember that project. Marcus said the client was pleased with my thoroughness. Your supervisor, Marcus Chen, is under investigation for his connections to Clearwater. We believe he flagged you as a liability to his employers. Someone smart enough to spot problems, ethical enough to report them. Ryan's jaw tightened. 3 weeks ago, we intercepted communications suggesting they'd put out a contract on you. The coffee cup trembled in my hands. A contract like to kill me? We've been working to identify all the players while keeping you safe. That meant surveillance. His gray eyes met mine. I volunteered for the assignment. Why? Something flickered across his face. Because I read your file. Because I saw what you do, working for a startup while volunteering as a coding instructor for underprivileged kids, helping your elderly neighbor with her groceries, fostering rescue cats. You're a good person, Jordan. You don't deserve to become collateral damage in someone else's crimes. The professional mask slipped for just a moment, and I saw something raw underneath. This wasn't just duty for him. This was personal. The man in the alley, I said. He was one of them. Victor Kozlov, mid-level enforcer. He's been in Seattle for 2 weeks, searching for you. We've been tracking him, but he was better than we anticipated. He found you before we could move on him. Ryan's hands clenched. I should have grabbed you sooner, brought you in for protective custody. I thought if we maintained the surveillance pattern, you'd be safer in your normal routine than locked in a safe house. I was wrong. You saved me, I pointed out. That's not being wrong. I let you get close enough to danger that saving became necessary. I studied him in the harsh, fluorescent lighting. The protective stalker was really an FBI agent who blamed himself for doing his job too well, who'd spent 3 weeks watching over me like some kind of guardian angel, maintaining distance to preserve my normal life even while keeping me safe. How long? I asked. How long do I have to hide? We're moving on the entire network tomorrow. Simultaneous raids in 4 cities. If everything goes according to plan, you can have your life back by the end of the week. And if it doesn't go according to plan, Ryan's expression went carefully neutral. Then we'll adjust, but you'll be safe either way. I promise you that. The safe house was actually a safe apartment, a nondescript 2-bedroom in Bellevue with reinforced doors, security cameras, and Agent Ryan Cross sleeping on the couch. You don't have to stay, I told him that first night. I'm sure the FBI has other agents who could babysit me. I'm not leaving you. The finality in his voice left no room for argument. I should have felt uncomfortable. This man had been following me for weeks, and now we were sharing living space. But instead, I felt safer than I had in months, maybe years. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the man in the alley, about how close I'd come to something terrible. Around 2 a.m., I gave up and padded into the living room. Ryan was awake, sitting in the dark, laptop open. Can't sleep, he asked without looking up. Too much adrenaline. I sat in the chair across from him. What are you working on? Background checks, making sure we have everyone connected to the Clearwater network. He finally looked at me, his face half illuminated by the screen's glow. I want to make sure you're truly safe before I step back. Step back. Once this is over, you won't need protection anymore. You won't need me following you around. Something about the way he said it made my chest tighten. Is that what you want, to step back? Ryan closed the laptop slowly. What I want is irrelevant. My job was to keep you safe without disrupting your life. I failed at the second part. You didn't fail. You saved me. After putting you in danger by what? Doing your job, trying to give me a normal life for as long as possible. I leaned forward. Ryan, I was terrified of you for 3 weeks. You know what I'm realizing now? That fear was the only thing I should have been feeling, because under it I was curious. You never felt dangerous to me, not really. Even when I thought you were a stalker, some part of me knew you were keeping me safe. Jordan, why did you volunteer for this assignment? The real reason. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, because 2 years ago I lost someone, a witness I was supposed to protect. She was a lot like you, good person, wrong place, wrong time. I followed protocol perfectly. Did everything by the book, and she died anyway. I'm sorry. Her name was Rebecca. She was 27, an accountant who found irregularities in her firm's books, reported them, entered witness protection. The people she testified against found her anyway. His voice was carefully controlled, but I could hear the pain underneath. I was assigned to her case. I kept my distance, maintained professional boundaries, followed every rule. And I wasn't there when she needed me. So when you volunteered for my case, I promised myself I'd never make the same mistakes, that if I ever got another chance to protect someone, I'd do whatever it took. Even if it meant breaking rules, even if it meant, he trailed off. Even if it meant people thinking you were a creepy stalker, I suggested gently. The corner of his mouth twitched, almost a smile. The thought occurred to me that my approach might be unsettling. Understatement of the year. But you were alive, that was all that mattered. I stood, crossed to the couch, sat beside him, not quite touching but close. Thank you. For caring that much, for keeping me safe even when I thought you were the danger. Ryan turned to look at me, and in the darkness, his eyes seemed to see right through me. You were never in danger from me, Jordan. Ever, I know that now. Something shifted between us. The air felt charged, heavy with possibilities. Ryan reached out slowly, giving me time to move away, and brushed a strand of hair from my face. His fingers were warm, calloused, gentle. This is inappropriate, he said quietly. You're under my protection, there are rules. Rules you've already broken by caring too much. Jordan, I kissed him. Soft, tentative, a question more than a statement. He froze for a heartbeat, then kissed me back with an intensity that stole my breath. His hand cupped my face, the other sliding into my hair, and suddenly 3 weeks of watching from a distance collapsed into this moment of complete connection. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Ryan rested his forehead against mine. This is a terrible idea, he whispered. Probably. I'm supposed to be professional. You're supposed to keep me safe. Everything else is just details. He laughed, the sound surprised and genuine. Is that how you rationalize things? I'm a data analyst. I'm very good at rationalization. We stayed like that for a while, close and warm and real. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt something other than fear. I felt hope. The raids happened on schedule. Ryan left at dawn, suited up and armed, looking every inch the federal agent. He kissed me before he left, a quick, fierce pressure of lips that felt like a promise. Stay inside, he ordered. Don't answer the door for anyone but me. 2 agents are outside and the building is secured. You're safe here. Be careful, I told him. Always am. Except he wasn't, not really. Because being careful would mean keeping his distance, maintaining objectivity, following the rules. And Ryan Cross had thrown the rulebook away the moment he decided I was worth protecting at any cost. The day crawled by. I tried to work to distract myself, but every news alert made my heart race. The FBI didn't release details, but I knew something big was happening. Multiple raids, dozens of arrests. Ryan called at 4 p.m. It's done, he said, and I could hear exhaustion in his voice. We got them all. Marcus Chen, the Clearwater executives, their enforcers. The entire network is shut down. So I'm safe. You're safe. You can go home, back to your life. It's over. Over. The word should have brought relief. Instead, it felt like an ending I wasn't ready for. When will you be back? I asked. I'll be there by tonight to debrief you. Then, he hesitated. Then you won't need protection anymore. After he hung up, I sat in the empty apartment and realized something crucial. I didn't want this to be over. Not the danger. I was thrilled to have that gone. But Ryan, the connection we'd found in the darkness and fear, I wasn't ready to let that go. Ryan arrived at 8, looking rumpled and tired and beautiful. He had that careful professional expression on again, the the one that meant he was about to say something I didn't want to hear. "Let me guess," I said before he could start. "You're going to tell me this was all just heightened emotions from the stress. That what happened between us can't continue because you're FBI and I was your assignment. That it's better for both of us if we make a clean break." He blinked. "That's remarkably accurate. I told you I'm good at analysis." I crossed my arms. "Now let me give you my analysis. You're scared. Not of traffickers or criminals or danger. You're scared of this, of us, because caring about someone means risking loss. And you've already lost someone you cared about. So you're going to walk away now, protect yourself by maintaining emotional distance, tell yourself it's for my own good." "Jordan, but here's what you're missing in your analysis, Agent Cross. I'm scared too. I'm terrified. 3 weeks ago, I thought you were a threat. Now I can't imagine my life without you in it. That's insane. That's irrational. That's probably a dozen kinds of unhealthy trauma bonding." "It is," he agreed quietly. "But I don't care. Because somewhere between being terrified of you and being saved by you, I fell for you. The real you. Not the stalker I feared or the perfect agent, but the man who broke rules to keep a stranger safe. The man who blamed himself for things beyond his control. The man who kisses me like I'm precious." Ryan's careful control cracked. "You are precious. That's the problem. You deserve someone without my baggage, my trauma, my dangerous job. I deserve someone who sees me, really sees me. Someone who'd spend 3 weeks standing in the rain outside my apartment just to make sure I'm okay." I stepped closer. "That's you, Ryan. You're the one who sees me. This is against policy." "Screw policy. I'm not your assignment anymore. I'm just Jordan, and you're just Ryan. And maybe we're crazy, but maybe crazy is exactly what we both need." He stared at me for a long moment. Then he closed the distance between us and kissed me like a man who'd been holding back for far too long. Like a man who'd finally found something worth breaking rules for. "This is going to be complicated," he said against my lips. "I'm good with complicated. My job is dangerous. I'll learn self-defense. I have trust issues. I have a stalker kink, apparently." He laughed, surprised and genuine, and pulled me closer. "That's not funny. Little bit funny. I'm going to have to report this, us. There will be paperwork, questions, probably therapy." "Worth it." Ryan looked at me like I'd hung the stars. "Completely worth it." 3 months later, I sat in that same coffee shop where I'd first noticed him. Ryan was across from me now, not across the street, hiding in shadows, but right there, real and present and mine. "I still can't believe the official report," I said, scrolling through my phone. "Agent Cross maintained appropriate professional distance while ensuring subject safety." That's one way to describe stalking. It wasn't stalking, it was protective surveillance. You followed me to yoga. You take a route through a poorly lit area. It was a security concern. You memorized my coffee order. I'm observant. You knew my schedule better than I did. That's literally my job, Jordan. I reached across the table, laced my fingers through his. Your job was keeping me safe. You went above and beyond that. You made me fall in love with my stalker. Ryan's expression softened. For the record, I fell first. 3 weeks of watching you live your life, help people, smile at strangers. You were already under my skin before you knew I existed. That's creepy and romantic simultaneously. I contain multitudes. Melissa appeared at our table, dropping into a chair with a grin. You two are disgustingly cute. I'm taking credit, by the way. I told Jordan to talk to you. You thought he was an awkward guy with a crush, I reminded her. I was right, just, with more FBI involvement than expected. She flagged down a waitress. So Ryan, now that you're officially dating instead of creepily stalking, what's the plan? Moving in together? Wedding bells? Please tell me the FBI has a policy against workplace romance that you're dramatically violating. We're taking it slow, Ryan said, but his hand tightened on mine. We're taking it normal speed for people who met because one of them was following the other, I corrected. Which is to say, we have no idea what we're doing, but we're doing it together. After Melissa left, Ryan walked me home. Not following from a distance, not watching from shadows, but beside me, his hand in mine, completely present. Do you ever regret it? I asked as we climbed the stairs to my apartment. Breaking protocol, getting emotionally involved, risking your career. Ryan stopped on the landing, turned to face me. The only thing I regret is every moment I spent watching you from a distance when I could have been getting to know you. Every conversation we didn't have, every coffee I didn't share, every time I wanted to talk to you and maintained professional distance instead. You were keeping me safe. I was keeping myself safe. From caring too much, from risking my heart again. He cupped my face in his hands. But you changed that. You made me want to risk everything. So, my stalker became my savior, became my boyfriend. That's quite an arc. Is that what I am, your boyfriend? Unless you prefer the federal agent who followed me around and then fell in love with me. Boyfriend works. He kissed me soft and sweet. Though for the record, I was already in love with you. Following you around just gave me time to be certain. Certain of what? That you're worth everything. Worth breaking rules, worth risking my career, worth whatever complications come. His gray eyes held mine, intense and sure. You're worth it all, Jordan Hayes. Standing in the hallway of my apartment building, kissing the man who'd watched over me from shadows before stepping into the light, I realized something crucial. Sometimes danger comes in unexpected forms. Sometimes the person you fear is actually the person you need. Sometimes love finds you in the darkest moments and refuses to let go. I'd spent 3 weeks terrified of my stalker. Now I couldn't imagine my life without him. Come inside, I whispered against his lips. Stop standing in hallways like a creepy stalker. I wasn't stalking, I was protective surveillance, I know. I pulled him toward my door. But you can protect me from inside my apartment just as well. Ryan smiled, that rare, genuine smile that transformed his serious face. Is that an invitation? That's a demand. I've had enough of you watching from a distance, Agent Cross. From now on, you stay close. How close? Close enough that I never have to wonder where you are. Close enough that when danger comes, and with your job, it probably will, we face it together. I unlocked my door, pulled him inside. Close enough that stalker becomes a cute meet story instead of a restraining order. You're never going to let me live down the stalking thing, are you? Never. I wrapped my arms around his neck. You followed me for 3 weeks. I'm going to get at least 10 years of teasing out of that. Only 10? Okay, maybe 20. He kissed me again, and I felt the last of his careful control melt away. This was Ryan unguarded, real, completely present. Not the agent, not the protector, just the man who'd chosen me over his rules, his training, his fear of loss. My stalker had become my savior, and my savior had become the love of my life. Sometimes the best things come from the scariest beginnings. Sometimes the person watching you in the shadows is actually watching over you. And sometimes, falling in love with the man who followed you around for 3 weeks is exactly the right kind of crazy. I wouldn't change a single moment. Not the fear, not the danger, not even the stalking. Because it all led here, to Ryan's arms, to this love that started in shadows and bloomed in the light. My name is Jordan Hayes. I'm a data analyst who accidentally crossed paths with criminals and ended up falling for the FBI agent assigned to protect me. And it's the best mistake I've ever made. Thank you for joining me for My Stalker Became My Savior. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more thrilling romance stories. Your comments mean the world to me. Let me know what you thought and what kind of stories you'd like to see next. Until next time, keep reading and stay mysterious.